I'm Ashley Perales. I am one of the steering committee members for the ACHD roundtable that we are doing through Houston Methodist. And this is my counterpart, who is one of our stakeholders. And we are wrapping up the second year of this adventure that we are all on together to put a little bit of work into what it looks like to be an ACHD patient and what we hope the future of being an ACHD patient looks like. So we're going to kind of do a quick chat of how we're feeling about it and give a little bit of feedback and hopefully go from there and drive things forward going into year 3. So, you know, I think just for me, I'm not a hugely technical person. So, you know, for me, it's just been great to build a sense of community and to know there's other people out there. And I just love the feeling of driving some of the research perspective, you know, from a more day-to-day, it feels like practical, I guess, input. So what are your feelings and takeaways so far that kind of, you know, of where we're going with some of the topics that we're talking about maybe, and kind of what have you learned so far from the process?
Hey, Ashley, thank you so much for having me. And so this program actually has enlightened me on several things, you know, things like it's not only me, you know, out there, because, you know, when I was diagnosed with this many years back, and, you know, I've not had any surgery or anything to fix it, right? So I thought that maybe there are other people, but, you know, who can tell, right? Just by looking at somebody. And I used to think that maybe I'm the only one, because that was the kind of impression that my doctors gave me over a period of time, that, hey, yours is a very unique heart, and not many people have this kind of you know, structure of the heart. So you are one of the kind. So I thought that not many people have this kind of anatomy of an heart. But then when this program started, I realized that there are not just me, there are others as well. And and as you know said initially, that this gives me a feeling of being in a community of people who share something common. And so this is that's one aspect that I learned. And second was, how are people you know, facing this on a day-to-day basis, right? I'm 47 years old, and I've not had, you know, any major sort of injury or any like hospitalization because of this. Like a couple of, maybe 2-3 times I've been to the hospital. So, you know, how people are coping up with this, you know, are there any things that they have set aside because of this condition, or are there any things that they have taken up because of this condition? Are there things that they're not able to do, you know, things like that? And that is a very big eye-opener for me, and I'm really enjoying, you know, being in this community and learning from others who are in a similar situation. And so this is, you know, I really enjoy attending those sessions every month, and seeing what kind of questions are there that people want to ask about. I never thought about, like, for example, the mental issues, like, you know, people are facing some mental issues. I never thought like that, you know. So those are the things that I'm actually very excited about, and want to see where it will take us. Yeah,
so I'm like you, I never, so well, let me rephrase that. I did have open heart surgery to repair it, but mine was more preventative. So I went into it healthy, you know? And so, you know, I'm like you, I was like, I never had a traumatic event. I never had a huge, you know, failure. And so it's really interesting, this broad spectrum, you know, of people. And yeah, I mean, when I went to have mine, I was the only person like under like 45 and under. And so we feel so isolated, and it turns out there's more of us than we think.
Exactly.
So I guess from going through this process, you know, from going through this year so far and learning what we have about research and patient-centered research, why do you think doing research from a patient's perspective, and maybe more specifically, like from mine and yours, from ACHD patient perspective, what is making you feel like this is so important for us to keep going down this road?
Yeah, I think it's important that patients or people like me, I don't call myself a patient, by the way. I just say that I have a different structure. Doctors call it a disease, but I said no, it's not a disease. It's just my heart is a little different. But yeah,
Yeah.
to people like me, how they're dealing with this, and and this mental thing, the mental fatigue. I
Yes.
never thought about that, and I think
Mhm.
this is quite an eye opener. And the fact that we are actually talking about it in these forums is very interesting. And I want to understand, like, how are people getting affected by it? Because I personally didn't get affected too much about it because, I had a pretty normal life so far, right? I mean, I knew that I had some things, so I couldn't do certain things.
Right.
But then other than that, there was nothing else that there was nothing that I couldn't do, right? Right. So, like for example, last year in December, I had an ablation done by a doctor,
Mhm.
and within 3 days, I traveled to what was that? New Orleans by road.
Wow.
So
Okay. You did
so
well.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, and I think it's important that people like me understand how people are dealing with this and
Yeah.
what additional help and things, tools that they need to continue living a normal life. I think it's very important, and I think this research will sort of, I think, will provide certain tools and enablers for people to continue living like normal life. Maybe some identify some people who can help these people leading a good life. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't see this as an inhibitor in any way, except for, of course, few things. But yeah.
Yeah, I no, I tend to agree with you. And I think, I mean, as far as the mental health part, I never considered it until I had to have my surgery. And it was
Yeah.
really going back out of it and, having to recuperate and go back to work and try to get back to life. And I just didn't realize how hard that was going to be.
Yes.
And there was no one, so now there's a social worker for the heart center, but there wasn't one when I had my surgery, and there's just the one, and so there's no one to really prepare us there to go through these things and
Yeah.
to kind of get you ready for here's what's going to happen and here's going into it. And so yeah, it kind of is interesting to realize there's going to be some emotional impact of this too, and things that you could do before that you're not going to be able to do for a while. And I
Yeah.
was not
Yeah.
expecting that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think for me, the sense of community and just, I wonder, I mean, one of the questions that they gave, to kind of think about going forward was, how has this project given you hope for the future, for people with our different, you can't just say with our certain condition because there's so many different ones. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think for me, realizing that by you and I participating in this and by this group participating in this, there's the ability to combine the science and the medicine and the research that they're able to do about new procedures and things with some of this practicality of we still have to live our daily lives and
Exactly.
be
Exactly.
productive. And
Yeah.
it's like we're getting the chance to combine those things. And I guess for me, that's kind of how I feel. I'm hopeful that will create better stability for, for you, the you and me as of the future. So
Yeah. And exactly. And what I think is that, this study is very important because given that people are from so varied backgrounds, right? I think, you
mhm,
might have received a certain kind of healthcare, a certain kind of, like post care help. In my country, you don't get all that so
mhm,
easily. right? So it is very important to see how people have adapted to their backgrounds and then lived through this with these conditions, and then what have they learned and how are they coping up with their conditions,
Oh, yeah,
how
that's
they
really
can
interesting.
how they can help each other, right?
Mhm.
And that community thing is always there, right? You can always set up these sort of meetings and talk to them about, hey, this is what I felt.
Mhm.
Have you felt like this before? what
Yeah,
what did you do about it? Things like that. And you got a medium where you can chat about all this, because otherwise, you don't want to talk about it, right? um,
right. Well,
you
and
want
it's like you said before, I thought I was, the only one. You thought
the
you were
only
the
one,
only
yeah.
one. And, yeah. So I mean, I think, maybe unintentionally, that's been their most impactful outcome of all of this is all of
Yeah,
a sudden, all of us are like, oh, we have each other
yeah.
now.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're going to figure
Exactly.
this out. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I'm just intrigued. I'm interested to see, how this moves forward and what the outcome is. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and they have a certain set of questions, certain set of things that they want to
Mhm.
go through, which is very, very interesting, because you certain things you don't really think about at all. I mean, mental health was never in my agenda. Like, I really didn't think that you can get mental. But of course, yeah. I mean, like you said, you
Mhm.
underwent surgery. I didn't. Well, my parents did take me to a hospital with an idea that he might get operated upon and this problem will be done with. But the doctor refused. He said, no, this condition cannot be fixed through a surgery, or we don't
Oh,
have the, yeah. And
that's really
then
fascinating. Yeah.
I was only, 9 or 10 years old. And so since then, my parents also thought, well, okay, that's it. We're done. And they, after that, they never tried. Like, maybe 5 years later,
Mine
maybe
were
they,
a little similar. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I mean, so, touch wood, so far so good. But, I
Yeah.
think if they can come up with in more innovative ways to treat patients with these ACHD, I think that'll be interesting. And if it
Yeah.
comes through this group, I think I think because this gives them the whole array of what kind of ACHDs are possible, right? I think
Yeah.
not just one. There are so many different types.
I know that's the thing is it's kind of a broad community too. So it'll
Yeah.
be it'll be really intriguing to see. Yeah. I mean, I honestly never because my parents, when I was diagnosed as a kid and they took me over and over again. And it wasn't really like I was doing okay. So it wasn't bad enough for them to do anything, but they were running all of these tests because of course now I know it was really rare for me to be doing okay. And so, but I was just
Yeah,
terrified
exactly.
as I was terrified as a child of all of these things happening to me. And finally my parents were like, this is it. We're not doing this anymore. We're
Yeah.
monitoring our kid. And so, I never went through transitioning from pediatric care to adult care. So that was new to me thinking, oh, you have to do that. That's a thing. Oh, okay. Good to know. Yes, we should
Yeah.
figure out how to help people do that. That's a smart idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's you learn a lot along the way about different people's processes, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. In US, I realized that there is somebody called adult congenital heart disease
right? It's not
expert. I'm
just,
like,
yeah,
whoa.
oh, fun story.
Or
Yeah.
or I might have to go to a Texas Children's Hospital to get my heart checked. I was, that's interesting.
I know. So I was in one of the breakout rooms and the Jessica was telling us, that she, before Methodist started the program, that was her only option. And Texas Children's didn't have an adult program. So you had to go and you had to go have your surgery and you didn't necessarily fit into the bed. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, well, that must have been a really interesting process. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
see how you would maybe not feel great about that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of interesting stories out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that should probably kind of wrap them up. That was fun. Every time I talk to
Yeah.
somebody about this, I just really enjoy it. So
Yeah, yeah, great talking to you. Yeah,
yeah, well,
I think this group has really come together very nicely, and I think people are more open now in sharing their whatever they're going through. I think it's very interesting. I really love spending that 1 hour that we do every month, And that's why I was asking Chris if we could have like twice a month, because it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, it is. It's fun to get the feedback and feel kind of together in that group.